Hi, I'm Evelyn Burg of LaGuardia's English Department, and today I'm going to show you a video on critical reading and explain what we mean by that. So what do we mean by critical reading? So let's and writing based on critical reading. Well, the first thing is we want to let you know that there's all kinds of reading, just like there's all kinds of writing. You can read for pleasure and relaxation, and when you do that, you're not critically reading. You're reading to enjoy, you're reading to get absorbed by the material. It's only when you start thinking about the reading and asking yourself questions or trying to explain it to someone else that it now becomes critical reading. Critical inquiry, which is what we try to do in the English 101 class, as well as critical writing and essay writing. It's active reading, and it involves annotation of text. That is, you take the book and you interact with it. You ask questions of the text. You go beyond the literal or surface meanings. You are not just trying to accumulate information, bits of data. You are searching out the writer's purpose, and you are looking for new ways of thinking about the subject. So you start with basic questions, because when you dig, you have to start on the surface. So what is the general topic of the reading? If it's a literary text, you may have to read a few pages, or if poetry, you might have to give it several readings. What kind of writing is it? What's the genre? Is it narrative? Is it a story? Is it exposition, explanation? Is it an argument over a debatable point? And what form? Journalism, poetry, drama, scholarly research. If it is an argument, if it's persuasive or informative, is there a thesis or a main point that you can speculate about, that you can guess at? Also, one of the most important things when you start doing critical reading is you look at the circumstances, the context. We call it the rhetorical context. Who's the author? What's the title? What's the publication year, and where was it published? How might that affect the author's point of view? Who's the audience? That definitely affects how the piece of work will be expressed. It will affect the expression of ideas. Where's the support, the evidence, or the development of themes or a central idea? Can you locate a point of view, a position, or even a bias of one kind or another? And it is important that you be aware of that when you're using a source for your own work, and also when you're analyzing material. Okay, so some more questions, analytic questions. So your professor will ask you to do analysis. Well, sometimes you're like, well, what exactly is analysis? Well, analysis is where you penetrate beyond the literal meanings and ask, what's really going on here? What's going on in this text? You might ask a question like, how does the author structure the sections of the reading? And why? Why do they structure it that way? Is there a narrator, a voice, a tone, or a style that's notable? And remember, the narrator and the author are two different people. One lives in the text and one lives in the real world. Does the text evoke an emotional response of any kind? Take your temperature as a reader. Is there a reason you might react a certain way to a text? Do you have a personal experience that makes you have a different reaction to the text than somebody else might? So another thing you want to look for are repeated ideas, images or terms that you see over and over. An author, especially in poetry, but not only in poetry, these are significant. What might they stand for? And that's one way to find a symbol, is to look for something that keeps getting repeated in a strange way. What's unusual about the text that separates it from other texts or what we expected to read? What's new or unique? Are there any larger ideas that the text implies? And you've learned in high school maybe about inference and implication. You infer what is implied by the text. Does the text seem reliable overall? Why? Well, some texts, it's the circumstances of the publication. If it's in a reliable journal or in a reliable newspaper, you can trust it. It's not 100%, but you can trust it for the moment. Maybe you'll find out that there is a mistake, but in any case, what we're going to look at now is the first paragraph of an article written by a student, and he won a prize, and it's in the New York Times. It's, as you can see, you only have the first paragraph here. The piece is considerably longer, but I just picked the first paragraph to show you how we jump in and we engage text, how we annotate it. So what I've done is I've used color to highlight different lines, and we'll discuss that, and there is one comment I have here. So it's a new cancer treatment that's faster, more efficient, and less risky. And what is it called? Bacteria bombs. Now, bacteria bombs is the choice of the author. I doubt the doctors are calling them bacteria bombs formally, but maybe casually they call those bacteria bombs. So you know it's about cancer. You know there's bacteria. The bacteria is going to explode. So you know something. This is a very informative title. Most titles are not that informative. Here's the author. You know it's from the New York Times, and you know it's recent. It's from 2020. Science gets old quickly, like milk in your refrigerator. You wanna always be looking at the latest information. So there is a sentence here about bacteria. They're usually thought of as disease-causing nuisances, and this is not that informative. It's not telling you something essential. It is but it does lead you into the subject and the topic only because of the word bacteria. But basically, this is a hook. It's a sort of humorous way, slightly humorous way to get you into the material. And it says that you usually think about something this way, but now you're going to have to think about it a new way. And the next thing I underlined, this would have been an underline or a mark or a star, and you can use any kind of notation you like. I do recommend that you move beyond the yellow highlighter because that really isn't very helpful. It just ends up coloring your page yellow. But okay, these organisms are going to be used to fight cancer. The next information that I thought was important was that the studies are going on at the University of California, and they are led by one researcher named Jeff Hasty. And they are trying to, what are they trying to do? And I asked here, how will it infiltrate the tumor? They're trying to engineer bacteria that will infiltrate tumors and kill them. And that is what we thought that chemotherapy was doing, maybe not. So we want to know, how will it be different from chemotherapy? Or that was a question I asked. And obviously there's a concern about safety. If proven safe and effective, this will be a victory in the war against cancer. This is an if-then question. So it's not resolved whether it will be safe or not. Now here you can see I didn't highlight the entire thing like one might do with yellow highlighter. There are just a few things pulled out, and that's something that you would want to do. You can use a pencil or pen. You should mark up your text in the margins. You can use stars. You can use wow, exclamation points, whatever works for you, or little comments. Finally, I just want you to ask some big questions. We want to ask, what is the purpose of the reading? Where is the author going with it? What's the most significant point in the reading? The main idea or the main purpose? Is anything implied by the reading? Does it call for action, further investigation, or more thought? Can you assess the quality of the subject matter and or the text as a source? What are your reasons for this assessment? And finally, we have a few takeaways. What makes critical reading different from ordinary reading? Write 3 examples. And what do you find most difficult about critical reading? And you can discuss that with your professor and think about that. But critical reading is different from ordinary reading, but that's what we want you to do here in the English department and in college generally. You'll be doing a lot of reading, and you have to learn to engage with text in a critical way.